just a real simple arrow build. I'm heading to Texas, so I like to have extra arrows. I shoot a Valkyrie arrow, but you can get any type of carbon arrow that you want. All you really need is a cutoff saw, some epoxy to put on the outserts, and to fletch them. And I'm just going to show you real simply how I do it. Anybody can make their own arrows. The nice thing about making your own arrows is you can customize them. You can have any color fletching you want, any color nocks. You can specialize with the inserts on what weight you want. You can add weight up front, you can take weight away. So building them yourself gives you the ability to customize what you're doing. Now I know the exact length that I need. The cutoff saw is all set up to the length that I need. And I've already, tuned these arrows so I know exactly how long they need to be for the bow that I shoot. So I'm just going to cut each one of the shafts. So we'll get that going. So the next step in the arrow build is going to be putting the outserts on. So having cut everything with the cutoff saw, I always use this tool. This squares the end of the carbon shaft just to make sure we got a good square piece that we're working on before we glue on the outsert. So I'm going to do that for each one of the shafts that I cut. There's a lot of different ones that you can buy, but it's just basically an epoxy. And you don't want to put too much on it because you do not want to plug up the hole that the screw is going to go in, or you want to have epoxy in the back because there's a shaft that goes into the arrow that you're going to end up blocking off. So we're just going to take each one, do just a little bit of this. Put the outsert on. Always move it back and forth so I make sure I got epoxy on it. And push it all the way on. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and just wipe off all the excess. So do that for each one. And a lot of this stuff, sometimes things seem simple and they're harder than they are, and sometimes things look harder than they really are. And anybody can build arrows. It's nice to go buy arrows at a pro shop, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can get professional results at home, especially with a little practice like anything else. But my brother and I used to compete in archery tournaments when we were teenagers, and we built all of our own arrows, including the high performance target arrows that we used. So just gonna let the epoxy dry, and then they're all set to do the fletching. Fletching arrows really isn't that hard. You basically need a fletching jig, and there's a couple different ones you can get. This one does a 3-fletched arrow, and for doing 3-fletched arrows, this one, this one's my favorite. Arizona Easy Fletch. It does all 3 feathers at the same time. Or in this case, the arrows that I'm building are 4-fletch. So I have one that does forefletch. The biggest issue that you run into is you want to make sure that all the feathers are going on in the same spot as it goes around the arrow. You don't want one ahead of the other one. So the arrow goes in the jig. Make sure you get the knock in the bottom part. And the way I get them even is that on the inside I've got a little piece of two-sided tape so that the feather butts up against that, so each one is going to be the same. You don't eyeball it and make a mistake. So I just get the arrow in, get the feather to butt up against the piece of tape. I use Fletch Tight glue, and you don't want a ton of glue, but you want it to cover the whole base of the feather. So just run a line of glue. And put the clamp in the jig. There's a magnet that holds it. And you're done. So with these, I let them wait like 10-15 minutes and then just turn the dial on the bottom, put the next feather on. It's time consuming, but it's really pretty easy. So the last thing that I do on the arrow build is to make them a little more durable. I've been building them out and gluing up fletching. So this one's all done. Just take a drop of glue and put it on the front of each feather. And I also do it on the back of each one. So for hunting, it probably makes absolutely no difference, but when you're target shooting, it makes them more durable. You get less chance to having a feather get wrecked or peeled up. So I've always found it to make them more durable. And there it is.